Feel a little bit better today. Say hi. Both of the fluff are here. Both of them are here. Eight is 4 2s and 1 3. Not the 1, because 1 is too small. You can't make 48 with just 2 boxes. That one we're limited to 6. That's the only 5 in that row. 6. That's the only 6 in that row. Let's see, and these sum to 3. This is going to be a 2. It's a 3. 5. 6 is a really good. 6. Let's see, 2 pairs of 1, 4, and 6 pairs of 3. 2 pairs of 6, and 6 pairs of 2. It's too small. 4 requires a 4, 6, and 1. Let's see. 3, 4, 2, 6. Six. Six. This is six. Much better today. How sometimes when I'm not feeling good. Let's try a crossword. Astounds. Wow. I mean, probably not, but I'll drink at that. Notable stretch. Like, put your hands in the air and lean to the side stretch. Like a stretch of road. Caribbean country, it's the birthplace of problems. Five-letter Caribbean countries. Sorry, I don't actually know anything about. Five-letter Caribbean countries. Oh, it's wild. Blank is. Yeah, so I mean the cross clues work, so Laos and Haiti seem to be doing well. Talks on and on. Yes. Entree might be served with mint challenge. Telly. This is tickling my brain. I can't quite place it. School for very young kids. Okay? Signed like a contract. closed, sealed, ratified, notarized. Something about the signature, maybe? Or maybe it's less literal and it's like approved or agreed. Generational divide. Like, kids these days don't know what it's like to work hard. Something like that. Actress Purnell. But I don't know anything about actors and actresses. Crosscut tool. There's a kind of saw called a crosscut saw. Well, so you could use a ripping saw to do a crosscut, but mostly you don't want to. The teeth on the saw are different depending on whether you're going with the grain or against the grain. A crosscut is going against the grain of the wood. Right? And they just have different tooth configurations because otherwise you can damage the wood. Headed up. Rose or climbed or loaded. Or maybe it means like was in charge of, like led. It depends. Maybe that's good. Small amount. Like a titch or an iota, an infinitesimal, inch, gram, a bit, okay, no, oops. I don't actually know what that phrase means, but I feel like I've heard people say "porque no los dos" before. Juan Actress de Alba. Yeah, but I still don't know actors and actresses. Anyway, you slice it, and three-letter words that start with W that fit in that sentence. Guessing these words are the same. This is probably Emmys, but I'm not sure. Is Ted Lasso TV? Not that I know which award show is for TV, so that doesn't help either. My interests do not skew towards popular entertainment. Sorry. comment after realizing you're sleepy at it. I'm old. Voice necktie is polo. Ooh, popular cat toy is Lays or Little Boy. No, just a Laser Boy. Little girl pretends like she doesn't want to play. So it's lamb. I was thinking it was lamb. This configuration is a leg of lamb. Maybe the rack of lamb. So standing rib rack. I actually don't serve mint jelly when I do racks of lamb. I'm just not a huge fan of mint jelly. Although I wonder if that's because so many people use peppermint. I mean, peppermint is just so mid. Like, there are people who like peppermint, but there are so many better mints out there. Personally like spearmint. I've heard that buttermint is really good, but I've never actually been able to acquire any. I need to find a good online herb shop. There are some things that I want that I've just never been able to get. I don't have anywhere, like when I want, well, for instance, buttermint. I don't like to try buttermint. I like spearmint. I do have a place that sells spearmints. Like sometimes I want sassafras. Nowhere. Well, okay, that's not fair. If I was willing to go into the city, in or around New York City, and by into the city, I mean like into central Manhattan. If I was willing to go into the shopping districts and pay like crazy, right? I do know a couple of places there that have good selections for. There's a good place in Chelsea Market. Very expensive, but they have a good selection. Right, but I'm not going to go into the city, especially not during COVID season. This is a major COVID season for the New York City area because you get all the tourists over the summer, and then all the kids go back to school, so everybody is sick in New York City. So I'm just gonna stay home with my air purifier and my closed windows. Story told in segments. A carol? Could be a carol. I think it's double R10. Citrus fruit. Centella study. Don't know what that is though. Citrus fruit starts with R. I wonder if it's one of the 5 primary citrus fruits or whether it's one of the more fruits. Doers. That feels like back. So that's not going to be cry. Three. Sigh. So that makes this a cereal. Citrus fruit starts with an O. With a little stretch. So like of time. Sure, I guess. Signed up a contract. Ink. People ever sign contracts with actual like pens and ink anymore? I feel like everything's electronic these days. Generation one, age. Look, here's an egg. It's surprising. Dual. So bit is not going to be good, especially if this is going to be. If you is pair, so I want bit really tad. H gap. Really surprising, huh? Who the heck? Who dat? And complaining. Fine. Standing achievement. Award. Something. This is probably. Woe is me. And, oh, could also be Buddha. Place to chat over a hot drink. Table. Too little, probably. Like a cafe or a coffee shop? Could be. Totally. Yuppers. Nope. Nays out. High garden singer. Question mark Dahlia. I don't know singers either. I'm just bad with names, okay? Even if I knew the song and the singer to hear and or look at, I would still not recognize the name of the song or the singer. Okay, names are hard. Is ¿Por qué no los dos? Is that why not both? I feel that was a commercial and then a meme. Maybe that's where I had heard that phrase. Environmental prefix. Yo. Dallas School. Presumably it's talking about colleges or universities. And I'm not going to guess, because I've heard that the people in Texas get real ornery when you mix up universities. Spot the wetlands. By maybe swap the verb, like overwork. Final result. Ice with a leg press machine. Like to fit. Speed limit letters. It's going to be per hour. What is it? Kilometers or is it miles? Kind of depends on where you live. This is USA Today, though, so it's probably going to be miles. Oh, it means the literal place, not to not to use it, but the place where the machine is, it's in the gem. Get you. Agent. Rep. So it's TS. Totally. Yes. Maybe. Yep. Yeah. Enemy. So, oh. This is probably gonna go instead. It's with these are soups. Captain Ahab. That's a famous sort of name that might right. Only Ishmael. And own gardens. You know a lot. Crossroads, so it's probably got those. Let's change. There's actually two options for this letter. I don't remember whether this is a C or an S. Even if I remembered, it doesn't mean that it's the same. Because English is weird, especially when you pull in words from other languages into English. It goes even weirder. Placed or used, oh. Starts with P. It's gonna be. Okay, so bar mitzvah here. Candy in the dispenser. So it's a Z. Ah, presumably. Sorry, little Sims, I don't know who you are either. This whole puzzle has been filled with people that I've never heard of. Swamp egg. Towards engineers. Let's go back over to the right side. Numbered work. Like a work that has numbers, like an anthology or encyclopedia now, or series? Or is it a work about numbers? Odor sensing nodes. So this is confusing, this clue, because sheep is both singular and plural. So this is female sheep plural. Wow, look at her moving. She's the blank. Chapel Road. I feel like I've been hearing lots of people talk about Chapel Road lately. Presumably a singer. I've never actually heard any of their work. Opus. Shmee. Nice, I think. Let's see. Let's cross. Aliens in March. Variation. People taking their text deadlines seriously. I don't know. Is this a sports reference? It's probably a sports reference. Spanish for that. I don't speak Spanish. Option. Mm. Normally, I would say you have to put a vowel here. It's abbreviation. So that's not necessarily the case. Looking at the letters on the keyboard brings me to S. Are they going for daylight savings time? So, thinking about letters that Spanish likes to put in words like this suggests to me an S. And if you do that, then that makes it look like morass. I don't actually know what SNU stands for. And the U is presumably for university. It's in Dallas. That's the sort of question that I could look up. But I think we'll just never know. Southern Methodist University. Yeah, I was probably not going to guess that. Wasn't going to guess that. Change the some settings. feel like I should be doing something productive today. Ever have that feeling? Lately I've been just not feeling that motivated to be productive. Fluffy. No. Covered in spots. Little girl is fluffy and covered in spots. Her brother is sleek and stripy. So we know that this clue here, I need two negatives. However, I can't put a negative here, because that breaks this no positives rule. I can't put positive there because then that will not get this. So we know that. Okay. So now we only have one more left in this row. So can't put anything there because that would have too many places. So this one could be filled in. You can't have a plus here. So remaining plus has to come from there. Almost certain that this is going to go like that. Maybe not. No, okay, I have that backwards. It's two negatives. That means two negatives that we can't have. So it's not bad. So this one is -1. Column is -1. This column would be -1 either. That's right. It's column. Okay. These, and this column is -2, but there's a lot of ones. 6 in that row. So either this one is not going to be both of these. So two positives. That's a lot over in that column. those. Start with that. Like that. Okay, that one because it would have positive, negatives. The positive. That one and then this one. Stay there at the end. There's no supplement on the negatives for that column. It's there. There. Those. Negatives there. So if that one is full, you can possibly can't do that. It'd be like because this one is going to have a negative. So this is going to that gets us positive. Here, positions. Can't use this one for that negative. Both of those negatives. And these, it's one or the other. Not both. I can't use this one to prove this positive. These, but not both. Likewise, I can't use that for that negative. So I'm going to need both of those. Because of this, I'm going to go that one. That one, so you get the positive one there. That one there. Either orientation that's there. So that has to go to there. And then we win. Because we are winners. You know why we're winners? Because we took the time to think it through. That's something that frustrates me a little bit. Math and logic, everybody always equates being fast with being good. It's not. It's not. People always say to me, but you're really good at math. And I'm like, well, I'm not that much better than average. I've had a lot more practice, right? So there are definitely things that I am better at. But my main advantage is that I'm faster than average at math. I'm not really better than average. And that's just because I visualize the numbers quite well. If I ever finish putting together video on dyscalculia, I could say, see the video on dyscalculia. Dyscalculia is basically when someone has a inability to connect the written numbers with the actual written numbers with the actual conceptual numbers. Yeah, it's a legit disability. Something we don't always talk about is that for every disability, there's an associated hyperability, I guess. Like there are people where whichever brain network, like whichever network of neurons is responsible for that, like some people have a weakness in that neuron development. Some people have a strength. My ability to visualize numbers and relationships is quite strong. Lets me do arithmetic much faster than most people. Also do more in my head. But honestly, that's not that useful a skill. Not in general life and not as a mathematician. Being able to do mental arithmetic is useful sometimes. I think do shopping. It's nice. I can look at a bunch of items and tell roughly how much I'm spending. This takes very little effort on my part, so that's nice. That's convenient. Like a professional mathematician who does research, it's not that useful a skill. Yeah, for every mathematician, it has a brilliant insight, a piece of intuition that jumps out and solves a long-standing problem. There's, 3 to 5 mathematicians who just steadily plug away at their work day after day and narrow down the possibilities until they get a result. In many ways, I would consider that the normal mode of operation for a professional mathematician. Right. And for a commercial mathematician, like somebody who does finance or accounting, that's a totally different discipline. That's all about learning the laws involved. Right? All of the arithmetic is done by software these days. Right? Nobody does calculations by hand. It's too error prone. Even if you're good at it, you still make mistakes occasionally. Computers don't make mistakes. Not that kind of mistake, anyway. Yeah, so finance and accounting is all about the law and understanding how finance interact with people. So looking at accounting forms and seeing what's wrong with them because a human made a mistake or a human is maybe committing a crime. That's an issue too. But that's a pattern recognition thing. It's not arithmetic. Not everybody, but a lot. seem to feel like arithmetic is all there is to math. It's really not. Well, like, take this game here. There's a lot of math in this game. But it's all... most of it's logic type math. There actually is some higher level math from the field of graph theory in here. There are... the rules of this game say that there are no cycles. So in this context, a cycle is this, right? If you have a circle in the network, right, that's a cycle. But that's not allowed, which means that this graph is what's known as a tree, right? So this is, if we consider this the root of the tree, right, and the network spreading out all the branches, right? In a mathematical tree, the branches are not allowed to, right, form a loop. They don't grow out and then reconnect. Technically speaking, in a biological tree, you would cause that to happen. It generally doesn't happen in nature. Very rare. It could happen. You could do it on purpose fairly easily, actually. Take a couple of branches and splice them into each other to create a loop. I'm not sure why you would do that. I don't know, maybe you could make some interesting wood products out of that. It would take a really long time, though. Yeah, but there's some graph theory math involved with cycle finding and map of trees. Doesn't actually like help you play this game that much, other than, well, the other thing that's not allowed is you're not allowed to have an island. Right. So the first thing that I look for is I look for patterns where you have these three, right, where you have these pieces here are called leaf nodes in graph theory. I don't remember what they're called in this game. Right, but you can't have two leaves connected by a two-ended edge there, because then these leaves are now isolated, right? Become an island. Right, so I know like that. Same thing here. Right. I can't have this facing either of these directions. So I know that it's pointing out. I don't know whether it's like this or like this, but I know that it's pointing out, so I can do that. Right. This one can't point towards the blank side, so I know it's pointing that way. Right. Same thing. So this one, the blank edge and the blank edge have to match up. Right. Now this node's point that way, right? In the same way, you can't connect two leaf nodes directly together. That doesn't work. Right, so when I first open the puzzle, that's the sort of thing I'm looking for. Okay, like this one can't go that way. Okay, so if I put that flat edge there, that means one of them has to be pointed this way. So that's doesn't really help in this case because this one still has three other directions at that point. But narrows things down. And as I click through, I put things... I don't always know the right position, but sometimes I know a given position is wrong, and I'll move the square out of that, right? So I won't like leave that one that way because I know that's not right. Same thing with this one. I could go there or there, but I'll leave it in one of those two positions instead of one of those. Leaf nodes can't point at each other. This puzzle is a little harder because it wraps around, so this piece down here, I looked up here to see that there's a leaf node up there, so I know that it can't point down. So it has to point to the right. So it's that way. This one cannot go left, up, or down, so it goes to the right. This one can't point down. So together. Pattern that I look for is a leaf node in a little pocket created by three other leaf nodes. And here's one I was talking about, you can't have cycles earlier. These two have to point away from each other. I guess I'll say form a cycle. Up there is a blank side. That's that, that, that. Let's see. This one is totally finished, but it has no power, so it can't point down. So that would point it at a leaf node and create an island. So now that leaf has to go that way, that way, that, that, and There's another cycle issue. That one, that one, that one. Face away from each other. Block the last couple of squares because I'm not the sort of monster that would leave a board 99%. That's could you really call someone who would leave that last square unshaded? Could you even really call them a person? What kind of monster would do that? Not me. Okay. So here, right, this is not a legal configuration for this one. And all three of the other options point out that, so I know that one there is that one. Okay, you're shaking the monitor. It's a little bit harder to play the games when you're shaking it. These two can't point at each other because I just connect those two points together. Here's one more. Just cycle formation. Same here. Pretty big leap, but that's a cycle. Hey. Probably it's like this. So that doesn't, then we need to do something like this. Do it on this side. Okay, yeah, this one has to go this way. This one can't go like that on one island. So that one gets going. So it's so it goes that way. That sort of pattern recognition, I personally think, is much more useful than arithmetic skills. Just saying. I kind of expected that. Exercising earlier, lifting some weights, trying to build up a little bit of muscle. Because I was not doing well over the whole COVID lockdown period. Ironically, not for COVID reasons. sick with something else. But I lost a lot of strength. So I've been trying to build some of that back up. So I was lifting some weights this morning. Felt my elbow not hurt, but it like kind of pulled or twisted somehow in a way that just felt wrong. And I said to myself, that was wrong. That's not how your elbow's supposed to feel. So I stopped. It was probably a good choice because now it aches a little bit. If I'd have tried to keep going, probably I would have hurt myself. It aches a little bit now. I'm gonna be quite a mess, I suspect. It's easy to get back inside. Eight, 10, there. And one of the points of this one, this tells us this has to have 4 options. Let's just check the edges. Let's see if anything points outwards, because those are sometimes easier to find. No, all right. 13 can't go to 38 or 21. What's the next one after 14? 19? Oh, it's a pretty big jump. 19 has to go to 20 to 21. 22. Let's go to 2 or so. 4, let's do 26, let's do there. 7, 30 down here. So it's these 2. So 28, 9, 28, 29. So it is this one. None of those positions pointed to this. We don't know whether this one or this one is. Does that flash too much? Maybe I'll stop doing that. Look at my pointer instead. Kinda not great how flashy this game is. Either modify it or not play it, however. Pick up. Audience member that has epilepsy. Something I've been wondering is how difficult it would be to put an after effect on your like if you need performance, you would have to write it for your graphics card to prevent flashing lights. Most graphics cards drivers are both proprietary and secret. You can't really modify them. At least not without reverse engineering at first, which is really difficult. Which leaves you with putting something on the operating system, which is not as efficient, but I feel like you can put a filter in there. Then you kind of really lose efficiency. So instead, I kind of wonder if more do something that was more like a screen capture sort of thing, and then send that to the graphics card. But put the filter in the capture. Right? So have the graphics being rendered once on one graphics, and then being caught in a capture program on a second graphics card. Then you're kind of doing everything twice, which kind of is going to push up the latency a little bit. Also, you would need two graphics cards. Probably be easier to do it with two completely separate computers than trying to put two graphics cards. And overall, it's trickier than it seems. Also, I don't quite know enough about epilepsy to know exactly what kind of modification you need. Like, I'm pretty sure that if you put a per pixel maximum rate of change, that would do it. But I don't know if you could do the same thing with a per screen average brightness maximum rate of change, which might be more efficient to calculate. I don't actually know if that's good enough as a solution. It's like I always say, whenever the problem involves humans, it always seems to get complicated. 6 times out of this one, this one. Got 14, 15. Start with the 16, so it's 14, 15. I think I switched to this character. It's still a little flickery, flashy, but it's kind of overall. Yeah, it seems to like. We still have not managed to figure out which of those 8 to 11 paths we looked at right at the beginning. It's like that. So this one came in there right now. Those. So all of those will require adding 2 blocks in that one. It's that one. Same reasoning, that's all required adding 2. So those are that. Those are also settle. The logic of what I'm about to do next might be a little hard. Suppose we did this. And we would have to block off those 3. This would mean the train would have to cross here 3 times. But both the beginning and the end are over here, so it can't cross 3 times. If it went across, came back, and then went across, it would be stuck on this side, but not be able to get to the ending. So that one can't be permanent. That's a dead end, so I can't go there. Is that a dead end? Every block has to have an in and an out. So it's only got 2 sides left. All of those sides have to be the walls. Let's see. 7. 5. 6. There's 2. I can say now. It's it. Sometimes he says, wow. That's what he says when he's begging for food. Or when he's lonely. He says that. That's what I do. For instance, sometimes he'll take a nap out in the living room. And his sister and I will be in the bedroom, and he'll wake up all alone, and he'll go, wow. It's just saying, where is everybody? We're saying, we're in the bedroom, little boy. I don't think he knows the word bedroom. I think he's just following my voice. So no, that one doesn't work. Because that would make both of these dead ends and then block them. I've used 4 out of 5, so it can't be both of these. Which means one end has to go that way. So I gotta go up and around and down. Sure, there's a good way to see which though. Let's see, if this one went this way, then it would be forced to go in a circle. So it doesn't go that way, it goes there. Which means that one goes there. Over there. Which means it can't go that way, it's supposed to go down and around. So synchronized to opposite last. Okay. So we have a 1 here, which means you can't connect the things, which means that I only cross things once. So then moving right here, it's to the left. That would happen now. That's 1. Let's see, 5 there, 5 up there. It's there, so it's going to go to the left. All 6 are used there. Can't put one there because that could be near a circle. Yeah, this one has 2 sides used up, so I can go there, so that one's a dead end. 7, 2, 3, 4. So still going to miss that one. Left. 5 in that column used up. And we went. I don't even know how to comment on that. This headline here just has that's too much for me to parse. Stun locked. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. This is one of the stressful things about being a judge. I mean, it rarely escalates this far. But I imagine there are a lot of people that don't like judges. Probably most of them are criminals. Depending on the judge, some of them might be lawyers as well. I mean, it's possible if the judge is an unpleasant person that everybody dislikes them. The judge that's overall a pleasant person and doing their job responsibly, it's mostly going to be resented by people that judgment's handed down against them. It seems stressful. I'm not a fan of people hating me, at least not in real life. You can hate me all you want on the internet, I'll just ignore you. Conveniently. Just about every platform where you can criticize me, I have the option of just not reading you. If you have constructive criticism, on the other hand, go for it. So the national Teamsters didn't want to endorse Harris, so all of the local unions are doing it instead. Maybe not all. Trump has a record of anti-union activities, so if you're in a union, Trump is not your friend. He believes everybody who's part of a union or tries to unionize should be immediately fired. Side note, that's illegal, but that's what he believes. And he's on the record saying that, so I'm not. This is not an opinion, this is like straight from his mouth. If I'm reading this right, Nebraska's one of, I think, 2 states that splits their presidential vote according to the percentages that the people in the state voted for, and they're trying to get it to do that. Seems kind of backwards. We've been trying for decades to get proportional votes for the president. Yeah, the way the president is elected is very confusing in most other countries. The short version is it's not the popular vote. You don't add up everybody's vote across the country to see who wins. Each state gets a certain number of votes based on how many people live there. And most of the states, right, they'll do a poll for president, and whoever wins in that state gets all of that state's votes. there are a couple of states where they proportion it out, right? They say if the vote in the state was 50-50, then they have half of that state's votes to go and half of that state's votes to go. Right. But I'm guessing that Nebraska probably votes like 80-20. So I guess they figure if they can get Nebraska to change to the way that all the other states do it, then those other 20% would go to Trump. Seems kind of like a push in the wrong direction to me, but and if your question on hearing this complicated system is, why don't you just change it? The answer is because it's in the Constitution and it's really hard to change. Like we're talking supermajorities, right? 2/3 consensus. In some cases, 3/4 consensus. Like we can't even manage simple majorities most of the time these days. Right. Basically, any proposal these days gets less than 50%. Whether or not this has any chance of success depends on whether Nebraska's proportional representation system is in their state constitution or not. Because if it's just a regular law, then their legislature may be able to push something through by November to change it. But if it's in their state constitution, generally speaking, constitutions are harder to change than regular laws. So, same issue as the federal constitution, right? It's hard to change. It's how that would play out if everybody's playing by the rules. If you get an email filled with confidential information, you're not supposed to spread it around to your team. You're supposed to report it to the police. Although in this case, the police would probably be the FBI. Because this is an international problem, and therefore it should go to the federal investigation. So, bold prediction that's in the it's a bold move copy. Sets up bold. There's there's zero chance that Trump is going to win New York's electoral votes. It's not going to happen. Yeah. If you're ever in an active thermal area, stay on the trails. Wet bears generally don't attack people. Says it was wounded. Maybe it was hurt earlier in the season and having trouble getting enough food. Decided to attack humans out of desperation. Yeah, if they don't get enough food before the winter moves in, they will not be able to hibernate. And then they will not make it through the winter. Let's read the science news. It's less frustrating and depressive. Usually. Nah, basically always. Basically always. Black hole jets. Yeah, various meteoroids get caught and do a couple of loops. It's not unusual. Now, if it was staying for a long time, that would be unusual. But you kind of have to hit the Earth's gravitational well just right to fall into a stable orbit, especially since our moon is quite large as moons go. There's not a lot of stable positions. Right, our moon is large enough to form Lagrange points where the gravitational pull between the Earth and the Moon is kind of cancels each other out. It's a little more complicated than that, but you can basically think of it as that's the two gravitational wells canceling each other. But the flip side of that is that if you anywhere else around the Earth and the Moon, means they're not canceling each other, and the Moon is likely to swing by and bump you out of orbit. It's an apply to low Earth orbit. If you're really close to the Earth, the Moon doesn't have as much of an effect. Same if you're really close to the Moon. If you're really close to one or the other, that one's going to have like an effect. Because gravity is very distance dependent. I'm not sure this is a good image. Saying for the dinosaurs with what appears to be some sort of deciduous tree and a Diplodocus. Hashtag not a dinosaur. I don't think the timing lines up on all of those things. Not sure. I would have to look up deciduous trees and Diplodocus timing. Hashtag not a dinosaur. In case you're wondering, Diplodocus is not a dinosaur. Not surprised it was tough. There's a reason why NASA tends to select ex-Air Force test pilots as astronauts. Side note, the reason is because they're good at staying calm under pressure and really complicated adverse conditions. Yeah, anything that leads with scientist says, it's basically useless. Scientist is not a well-defined term, and having one person say something. What do they call that? They call it getting one guy. Just because that one guy claims to be a scientist doesn't mean doesn't mean that he's right. Yeah. Oh yeah. What are you talking about? Yeah, radiation is a big problem in space. The Earth's atmosphere does a good job at protecting us from most of the worst of it. A lot of hype. I don't see a lot of content. But here's the catch, right? In order for something to zoom through the solar system every decade, one of two things needs to be true. Either there are a lot of these things out there. Space is a big place, and if these are just randomly zipping through, there would have to be a lot of them. Or it would have to be in an orbit around the sun. So it's never really leaving the system. There are definitely things that go way out there and then come back. We have comets that have 100-year orbital cycles. Right, but it's either or. And if it was big, we'd have seen it. Not seen it, because you can't really see a black hole. We'd see more effect from it, right? If there was a big black hole, especially like if it was part of the system, swinging back through in orbit, right? It would show up in the orbits of the planets and such. Right, but all we've got is a wobble. And I'm not feeling it. My guess is calibration issues on the sensors. Real data. Yeah, so the sun is headed towards an energetic part of the cycle, so it's going to be more common over the next couple of years. Broadly speaking, if you really want to see a good You kind of have to. You kind of have to be ready to travel with only a couple of days only. As we usually only get a couple of days for a big solar storm. And then, like I said, you need to get away from anywhere that has bright lights. Because auroras are not particularly bright. I have seen them in real life. Ones that I saw were not. Right? They were not super impressive. They were not very bright. Yeah. But the farther you can get away from light pollution, the better off you'll be. Also, the farther north you can go, the more likely you are to have good luck. Uh, how far does spread? I'm guessing the purple places are dark because this spot here, right, that's New York City. You kind of have like the whole Boston to Washington, D.C. strip here, right? That's all people. Right? That's Los Angeles. It's interesting that you can see El Paso. This part of Alaska is maybe actually okay, but it's just not. Like, this may be a case of no data. So I don't think there's any big settlements up here. Most of the people in Alaska tend to be down here. So my question is, right, because I live over here near New York City. If I got on a boat and just sailed straight out the ocean this way, how far out would I have to go? Right, because if I'm going to travel inland, where could I go? I could go over here to the, let's reach into New York, Pennsylvania border. There's a spot like right here, where I could head up to Maine. Or any of the rest of it. Might as well just jump on a plane, just fly wherever. This my university when their stadium lights were on. Even though I lived in the next town over, I could read outside when the stadium lights are on. I say the next town over, but it's not that far away. It was on the other side of the river. Broadly speaking, the answer seems to be $100. Really good results. We're still going to be able to see the city from 100 miles. And as for my question of, can you just sail out into the ocean away from the coast? The answer is not really. 100 miles is pretty far. You wouldn't want to be 100 miles out. Um, some Yeah, that's some small ship, right? Some sort of tour boat is not gonna cut it that far out. That looks like a water plane. It is the water plane. Earth may have once had a ring. Yep, especially if the Earth Moon collision theory is correct. Theory is that Earth, a little bit smaller than it is now, and something Mars-sized ran into each other at some point. And that's how the big chunk that became our moon broke off. Which, side note, is one of the leading theories of how Earth ended up with a moon that is so big. Because both relative to Earth and relative to like all the other moons, our moon is really big. And the theory is that's because it's a chunk of debris from two planets crashing into each other. Forming a current Earth-sized planet and the big chunk sized moon. We don't know. We don't know if the standard model is correct. It works really well. So it's another article of scientists measured the thing that we thought we knew, except we measured it more precisely, and now we're pretty sure we still know the same thing that we knew before. It's hard to understand why that's important if you're not good at statistics. Right, but in particle physics, we're not really looking for confirmation anymore. We're not looking to confirm the standard model at this point. We're looking for something that doesn't fit. Scientists are hoping that the standard model fails. Right? Particle physicists really want to find something that doesn't fit. Right? Because the standard model is pretty filled out at this point. Yeah, we keep getting articles that say, is particle physics finished? And I don't think so, not yet. There are still things we're looking for, things we don't understand as well as we could. But every decade, there's less and less room for something really, truly new. So we're looking for something, anything, to show that our model is wrong. Because if we're wrong, that means there's something new, something we don't know. Have all the muons mostly pinned down, and have all the bosons mostly pinned down. Steadily chipping away at all of the unknowns about antiparticles. If we could figure out a way to consistently detect neutrinos, That'd be that'd be the next big step, possibly the last big step. Other than that, there's and can you glue things together in weird configurations? Quarks usually stick together in groups of threes to form protons and neutrons. You can stick together quarks in groups of 4 or 5. I know definitely 5. I don't actually know if you do. My brain is not surfacing any answers for valid combinations of 4 quarks. I didn't specialize in particle physics. My physics degree is just in general physics. I didn't specialize in anything. The intro and intermediate courses in a lot of topics rather than specializing in any one. If you ask which of my majors was my primary major, I'd probably tell you computer science at this point. Definitely the one that I've used the most. And then math comes in as a close second. And then I picked up general physics because at my university it just turns out that if you select your electives and your science credits for your computer science and math majors correctly, you actually only need an extra 6 courses that are dedicated to physics. Because most of the intro level physics stuff counted as electives, or even some of the other science requirements for the other 2 majors. I needed to take 2 advanced laboratory classes, 2 advanced general physics classes, and I forget what the other 2 were. Maybe it was just 2 intermediate physics electives. If I recall correctly, I took astronomy and optics. Optics is a lot of formulas. Lots and lots of formulas. That's a like if you study it professionally, like I said earlier, right, the computers will do all the arithmetic for you. But if you want to take the class, you need to be able to do a lot of algebra, a lot of arithmetic for that class. I do kind of wish we had more concepts of advanced topics classes, right? Because a history major is never going to have the right prerequisites to take an optics for physics majors class. It's just too different, right? They would have to like you can't take the physics. You really can't take optics for physicists unless you're gonna get a physics degree. You like by the time you get all the prereqs for it, you might as well just finish the major, or at the very least a minor in physics. Um, yeah, but there's a lot of neat stuff in there, right? The concepts are interesting, even if you don't want to learn all of the actual calculations. Right? So the concepts of coherence, right? It's coherence is lasers, in case you're wondering. That's the mark of it's not strictly true. Uh, a laser setup is basically the easiest and most convenient way to get coherent light. The light from the sun is mostly coherent. That's a side effect of how far away the sun is. So that doesn't work very well on Earth. Coherence is basically how the waves line up. Probably got taught about constructive and destructive interference of waves in elementary school. The catch is that most of the time when you're collecting waves, whether it's physical waves or whether it's light, sound as well, the waves are a mess, right? They're a big old jumble, so you don't get any of that, right? Because you're getting constructive and destructive interference all over the place if you don't get any patterns of it. So if the waves are coherent, either you have the same waveform oscillating back and forth over a long period of time, or you have the same waveform oscillating back and forth over a period of space, right, distance. So there's two ways to decode here. Is you can get out of sync as you travel a long distance, or you can get out of sync as you watch it over a period of time in the same position. Right. Coherence is an interesting topic. Diffraction is interesting, but you usually get diffraction in a general lecture. Hi, how are you tonight? I'm just in here talking to myself about physics, optics for the most part. I was kind of going on a ramble. Yeah, if you have specific questions, feel free to let me know. You're the only one here right now. Let's see. Yeah, I was just rambling that I thought it would be nice if there were more conceptual classes in the sciences. For instance, one of my majors, I did 3 majors in college. I did computer science, math, and physics. And I was complaining that the optics class that I took was just so completely out of reach if you weren't majoring in physics. Like you would never ever get the prereqs. Right? The math involved, the number of formulas, the amount of algebra you have to do is just unreasonable. So, but there's a lot of interesting topics in there. Photons, coherence, how lasers work, diffraction, reflection, that sort of thing. Evanescent waves are kind of crazy. Like in elementary school, they teach you that if you bounce a light off a mirror, right, it goes in and it bounces off. But did you know that due to quantum mechanics, and I'm not going to get into why, that the light actually goes through the mirror, right? It projects an electromagnetic field on the other side of the mirror, and that if you have requires you be in a pretty good vacuum, but if you put a second mirror close enough but not touching the first mirror, the the evanescent waves can actually collect in the second mirror and the light come out the second mirror instead of bouncing off the first mirror. It's pretty wild. Yeah, but like to learn about evanescent waves, you have to take like a high level theoretical physics class, and that requires crazy amounts of algebra and arithmetic. Yeah, but I thought it was a really interesting topic. I didn't even really consider it. I didn't take any quantum mechanics classes while I was in college, but that is the sort of thing you get in quantum mechanics. Yeah, I wonder if Wikipedia might have a good picture. Not really. I think astronomy would be pretty accessible. But again, they stuff a lot of formulas in. It's kind of inaccessible. Mm. And now that I think about it, there's kind of a lot of topics. It's kind of a general access to classes. I wonder how much you could do with that. bits of graph theory, bits of set theory, a little bit of logic, you could do that. So, really do wish Introduction to Reasoning was a middle school level class. So you don't get Introduction to Reasoning until your third year of university. But it would be much more useful than a lot of them. Like, definitely I would trade it out for calculus, because calculus is not that useful. I would really rather people have reasoning training than calculus training. So many majors require calculus, even though they're never going to use it. You could do a single semester of concepts of calculus, and that would do you for your whole life. I think physics really lends itself to conceptual classes. A lot of the natural sciences do. Uh, Computer science is kind of a yes and no. There are definitely concepts that I think everybody should have. How ubiquitous computers are in our lives these days. Definitely some AI concepts that I think everybody should have. Definitely something that we need to go over with database. We need to talk more about alignment. Also, the difference between an AI and a general AI. We are in a period where people significantly overestimate what AI can do. Right, especially generative AI these days. We've got to remember that current generative AIs they're aligned to produce results that sound human. They are not aligned to create results that are true. I've been very disappointed to see lawyers using generative AI. Just want to be like, no, dude, can't you can't trade out a generative AI for, instead of doing actual research on your court cases. That's not how it works. That'll just get you in trouble. And it did. It got them in a lot of trouble. Some clue? Okay. There it is. This girl only has. But I wish a lot of subjects had better intro level subjects. Not even intro level. Right? So you're not necessarily trying to get people into your program. I just think some general concepts classes can be useful. Right? Most people don't need to be able to do the calculations. It would just be nice if they were able to recognize the concepts if they ran across them in real life. Five must be one of these squares. Six. I think this is probably going to be my last game. A bit sleepy. It's getting kind of late to go to bed soon. Yeah, you can see how my brain's kind of misfiring a little bit here. It's not correct. This one would be 5. Five and 6, 2, 3. Mm-hmm. 2, 3 in there. Yep. I think that's going to be it. But somebody question in the next 30 seconds or so. Slowly being surrounded by cats. Seem, seem to desire food. Okay, I'm gonna call it here for the night. Thanks for stopping by. Yep.